EF Memphis. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Look up on the wall, there on the floor, under the pillow.
Good morning and welcome into Wolo and Friends. Dave is out today. I'm Landon Schmidt filling in for Dave. He is on his way to Texas right now as Memphis takes on Rice tomorrow for college basketball. But we were off yesterday for the New Year's, and man, there was a lot of college football going down. There's a lot of college football to talk about today. But before we get started with everything, no Darian today. He's probably off somewhere taking a nap, probably getting some good and much needed rest. With me today is Jay Ham, the historian, the man who knows more basketball than I'll ever know in my entire life. But that's one of the pleasures of having him with us here today. So, one of the big things that always surrounds New Year's is having New Year's resolutions. Jay, do you have any resolutions to kick off the start of 2026?
You know what? I resolved to be a better journalist, producer, all-around guy.
All-around guy.
You know, just try to improve all around, just be a better guy, better person, better friend, better family member, better co-worker, better everything.
Well, you're already doing a great job. So that's
Thank you, sir.
It's a very noble thing to achieve. I've never really been on the New Year's resolution hype. I mean,
Me neither.
It's just kind of one of those things. There's like, a lot of people want to sit out there and say, I want to get back in the gym and do all this stuff, which is actually one of the worst things for me personally, from somebody who works out, because now the gym is going to be filled with people who are just don't know what they're doing. And I really wanted to send out a little thing to like people who are going to the gym saying, if you go to the gym and this is your first time, stay off your phone. It is the seats that are there are meant to use, go on the machine, work out, do something. Stay off your phone. Yes. Leave your fingerless gloves at home. Yeah, nobody wants to see that up at the gym. You gotta fight the hard way. Get them calluses on your fingers.
Yes, sir.
Grab the bar. Get in there.
Show your work.
There you go. Do something. It is not a social hour. You can say hi to your friends, but people are in there. They want to get their stuff done. They want to get rolling and all those kind of things. And please, I don't know where this trend started, but do not wear Crocs to the gym. I do not understand it unless your whole day is centered around deadlifting or squatting and you're doing it with no footwear, like you're doing it barefoot, which is actually very beneficial. Then I understand it. But if you're going around and you're picking up weights and stuff like that, just protect your feet, okay? Just
protect your feet, and also leave the tripods at home. We don't want to see the documented film reels. You've been at the gym with the edits and the whole deal.
Unless you are a fitness influencer or you are my older brother who is 10 times my size and needs to actually film his stuff to send to his trainer, then I understand it. But if you're just sitting around there, selfies, all this kind of stuff, go somewhere else, okay?
Because at that point, I'm convinced you're not really working.
No, you're not. A lot of people want to make it social hour, but just don't do that. So that was real quick, Landon's tip to being successful in the gym. If that is your New Year's resolution, to go out there, get back in shape, you can do it. Just stick with it. It's consistency. Nothing's going to happen in one day. It's going to take a while. You got to stay with it for a good long bit. But that will do the end for New Year's resolutions for this segment of the show. No matter what it is, we hope that you stick with it, and hopefully you get past that mark that I believe it says, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe the end of January. Most people give up on their resolutions anyways. So hopefully they do not do that.
We normally don't see them like after Groundhog Day. Between Groundhog Day and Valentine's Day, they start to scatter away.
Seems to be a gap. They are like the groundhog. They seem to go away, only appear for a little bit, but then tend to vanish. But we do have a lot of college football to talk about. Man, there was a lot of games over these past 2 days, going back to New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And before we get to the biggest story, which is the college football playoffs, I wanted to take a look at all of these other outside bowl games, which I don't know about you, Jay, but bowl season is one of my favorite times of the year.
It's become that for me, even though I know that they're consolation football games, but
they are.
if you just want to see some competitive action going on middle of the day.
At the end of the day, it's college football.
Yeah.
I love how these bowl games are played throughout the day, so you've always got something to watch. You've always got something to capture your attention, and they're just really fun. I think as the time has progressed, the bowl games have certainly begun to lose a lot of their meanings with the college football playoffs and the transfer portal, NIL. All of these things are really hurting these games. But then you get some of those games where they are really, really good. Like we're going to talk about the ReliaQuest Bowl, which Iowa, I believe, had all 27 of their seniors opt in to play in that game. They had all their starters. Vandy had most of their starters in that game. So it was really just a battle between two good teams, which is exactly what this bowl season is supposed to be all about. It's supposed to be the best you've got versus the best the other team's got, and hash it out in this bowl game and get bragging rights for, and a great way to cap off the end of your season before, a lot of these guys are going to leave and go to the transfer portal. But the first game we'll talk about is the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, which I don't know if you know this, used to be sponsored by Hyundai. So I don't know what happened with Hyundai. I guess they went on to greener pastures. But Tony the Tiger, we know him from Frosted Flakes. Now the guy for the Sun Bowl. This was between Duke and Arizona State. This was a really interesting game to watch because you know that Arizona State's quarterback Sam Leavitt is going to be entering the transfer portal. Ended up not playing in that game. He opted out, which I always hate seeing. I hate seeing starting quarterbacks who have been with the team the entire year and then ultimately decide, no, we're not going to be a part of that. Whatever, we're going to go somewhere else. I hate seeing that. But even in that game, a huge shout out to Jeff Sims, who led Arizona State. He played incredible in that game. 375 yards, 3 TDs, 2 rushing TDs, and 70 yards rushing. But unfortunately, it was Duke with Darian Mensah who just absolutely went off in that game. 327 yards, 4 TDs. This was a very classic back and forth. Arizona State would do good. Duke would do good. Back and forth all the way to the very end. Duke ends up winning 42-39. A very fun watch. Very fun bowl game.
I don't remember what the spread was, but I remember taking Duke in that one because I'm sitting there watching it, and me being the basketball guy, I'm looking at the two squads, and I'm like, okay, this is really the Bobby Hurley Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bobby Hurley is the head basketball coach at Arizona State, and he's a 2-time national champion and he's a Duke legend, in that regard. So it's like, okay, Bob Hurley's world's coming together right here. But Sam Leavitt being out, I knew that I was going to be able to, like, okay, they don't have Sam Leavitt anymore. Kellen Dinningham's still there, but you know what? Give me Duke coming off the ACC championship run.
I know. And going back to that ACC championship, I loved how it ended because all season long, you had a front runner of the ACC that the next week would lose. Then you'd have the next guy, then he would lose. And so for a 5-loss team to win the ACC, I thought was the perfect storybook ending for them. But the way in which Duke played and came back and defeated Virginia in the ACC championship, I thought told me enough about this team, told me enough about how much they were going to fight. So it was an easy take. I took them as well. Very, very fun game. The next game, the Las Vegas Bowl, not as fun. I'm not sure what the hype was behind Nebraska, especially since Dylan Raiola is now entering the transfer portal. He'll be going somewhere else. Very interesting to see where he's going to land. But Utah basically dominated all aspects of the game. They win 44-22 over Nebraska. Devin Dampier had 310 yards passing, 2 TDs, but he didn't really kill them through the air, even though that was a lot of passing yards. He also destroyed them with his legs. He had 148 rushing yards and 3 TDs on the ground. For any quarterback, it doesn't matter if you're labeled as a dual threat. For you to rush for that many yards and that many touchdowns in a game is an absolutely incredible performance. So huge shout out to Devin Dampier for Utah as they easily handle Nebraska in that Las Vegas Bowl. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, the ReliaQuest Bowl, Vandy versus Iowa. A lot of people thought, Diego Pavia's in. Vandy basically had everybody playing, but so did Iowa. Iowa had all their guys in. They had all their starters. A lot of a second half effort kind of coming from Diego Pavia, but he certainly played well. 347 passing yards, 2 TDs. He did incredible in that game. But Iowa, they just played great team ball led by Mark Gronowski. They had all 27 of their seniors, as I mentioned, playing in that game. So this one, out the gate, Iowa just was looking like they were going to run away with it. Vandy started them out and come back and started to fight back a little bit, but ultimately it was a little bit too much for them, and the Hawkeyes get a win over Vandy. Moving on, we go to the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, which I know there was a lot of hype around this. Both teams were very excited to play in this game. They were saying, yes, it's outside of the playoffs, but still, it's an honor to be able to go to the Citrus Bowl, and I love that attitude.
Especially with those two brands that we're talking about here.
Michigan and Texas.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, you talk about both of those. Now, of course,
like 20 years ago, around that same time, those same two programs were meeting in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, which is insane to come full circle, and now they're in the Citrus Bowl. But still, Michigan had all of the all that stuff going on with losing their coach the way that they did, but they still had Bryce Underwood at the helm, who did not play very good in this game. But Texas, who was led by Arch Manning, and just huge shout out to Arch for deciding to stay one more year. I think that is the greatest decision he could have made. I bet it's going to pan out kind of like Dak Prescott staying that extra year at Mississippi State. Get more developed, get more reps in that game experience, and then declare for the draft. And I think coming out of next year, we'll see how Arch Manning progresses now that he's gotten a full year of starting under his belt. We'll see how he looks. But in this game, once again, it was the ground game from Arch Manning that was the most impressive. He still had 221 yards passing, 2 TDs, but he had 155 yards rushing with a 60-yard rush in that game with 2 extra TDs. So huge shout out to Arch. He played really good in this game. Oh yeah, played really good. But the big game on New Year's Eve was the Cotton Bowl, Miami versus Ohio State. A lot of people were saying Ohio State's going to run away with this. You've got one of the best completion percentage QBs that college football has ever seen in Julian Sand. You've got the superstar in Jeremiah Smith out there. Even Tate at wide receiver is doing really good. So a lot of people thought Ohio State's just going to roll over these guys. Miami, they scooted right by Texas A&M. Not really much of a game there, but defense was the name of the game in this game. And it's said often that defense is what wins championships. Yep. And right now, Miami is proving that without a shadow of a doubt. Miami's defense was on fire to start this game, and Miami would actually strike first in this game with a good rushing attack, followed by an interception that I believe all defensive players, it was the kind of interception that they dream of. I know when I was playing high school football, the coaches would usually tell us, like, imagine what it is that you're going to do in Friday night's game, and then go out and do it. But that interception was just so perfect. At the right place, at the right time, to take it all the way back for that pick six. Oh, it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Scouted from the formation, from the read of everything that was there, from the snap, from the head turn, everywhere. He was step for step, right in line with that pass.
Oh,
it was as sweet as like a defender in basketball stepping into the passing lane and going the other way with it with a breakaway dunk. Yeah. It's like you read that one.
Oh, it was.
And when I saw that happen, I text John Hard and beat it. I'm like, there's trouble in North Texas.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting back up after that.
No.
Two scores on that Miami defense with the way that they've been swarming around the football.
Led by Ruben Bain.
Who just wanted to end that game, win it, and get home so he can watch Stranger Things in enough time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the game plan. But, man, Miami looked really good in that game. Yeah, like you were saying. I mean, I don't know if you saw that video. I think it was of a high school game, but this team was running just like a quick little pitch play or whatever, and this defender breaks through the line really easily and intercepts the pitch, and then goes like 95 yards for a touchdown. That's kind of what you saw from that interception. That was really great.
The defender knew where everything was going, probably better than what some of the offensive guys did.
That's got to be one of the most satisfying things ever in football when you see something like that play out. Carson Beck, I think he did his job. He did what he was supposed to do out there.
Managed the game.
He managed the game very well. He didn't really wow you with anything. I mean, he did make that really good first down rush where he lowered his head, charged in, was tackled into the first down. But he made the throws he needed to make, and he took care of the football, which is ultimately what you want to see.
He took care of the football, and then just most importantly, without even the flash and the numbers and the whole deal, he's just leading his football team.
Yeah.
He's a
And-
veteran. He's been around.
and I think-
he's been around to see two of these won. He got to sit and
Yeah.
watch, which it's not a bad thing because you still get the experience of being in championship culture. So he knows how to carry himself.
Yeah.
In this culture,
Yeah.
So it's great.
For sure. And I think when you have the defense that Miami does and you've got the production that's just good enough for the offensive, that whole thing's going to mesh together and it's going to look really, really good. And one thing that was actually really surprising for me, given, Miami's history. Now, this was back all the way in the early 2000s, really before I even knew what football was. The first flag that was thrown in this game did not come until the start of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Which I did not check or I don't know, but that has to be some kind of record for
was.
college football playoff games.
And it wasn't even thinking about any of that. It was just, we're just watching good, clean football. It's
and that was incredible to see. The fact that the very first flag was thrown in the fourth quarter, I was like, wow, this is insane. But even though later in that game, the Sand-Smith connection would eventually heat up, it just wasn't enough. And Miami runs away with it. Very, very good performance to them. Then we looked yesterday to New Year's Day with quite a spectacle of college football games that we got. And the first one that a lot of people would kind of say is a dud, I would say was very exciting, and that was Texas Tech and Oregon. This, as we say in the Schmidt household, we like to say this a lot, is that defense, when there's a good defense, there's a good football game going on, and Texas Tech's defense is what really got us excited. And, man, they came out the gate ready to play. I'm talking sack after tackle for loss after tackle for loss. It was just everything going right for Texas Tech's defense. But, it often comes in the world of just football, not even just college football, but just in football. When your offense can't produce anything, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. There's going to come a time where they get tired and just stop after stop is just not going to happen. And Texas Tech's defense or offense did not show up for this game.
The mistakes also will dwindle all of that momentum and energy from a defense because now they're having to overcompensate for short field and just things of that nature. Just try to keep the game within reach.
Yeah.
And it just took its toll. That kid number 4, I forget his name. That's
For Oregon?
the corner. Yeah.
Brandon Finney.
Yeah, Brandon Finney Jr.
Unreal.
You can't. That kid had a day. you know?
True
with
freshman.
the picks, the fumble recovery, the whole deal. It's
Yeah.
like it was just a very physical football game. And I mentioned this to Greg and Eli as well as to John. It's like Oregon being the West Coast team with the early kick. Because that was 11 o'clock kick for us. That's 9 a.m. West Coast time. But it seemed like Texas Tech was the one that was more of the lag, especially the offensive side.
Yeah. Texas Tech just did not show up. And Morton, who is the leader of this offense, who's the go-to guy to quarterback this team, he just made some really bad calls. He made some really bad decisions. I know the best drive for the Red Raiders offense was they were going all the way down. They were deep in the red zone, and then he just makes a poor throw in the end zone.
Throw in the end zone to Finney.
Yeah, to Finney. It was about as easy of a pick as a defender could dream up. So nothing happening for them. Just really sad to see because this was the best team that money could buy.
Yeah.
We liked seeing the possibility of Texas Tech making a farther run in the playoffs. A lot of people were believing in them as we got closer to game time, but ultimately it was just Oregon who kept sticking with it, and Oregon's defense, was just incredible. As we all know, as they deemed was the play of the game was Uiagalele's strip sack, who he took down to let up for the first rushing TD. And quick little tidbit, I know this is not 100% need to know stuff, but in order to pronounce all of those Polynesian names correctly, the biggest things that you guys need to know is that Polynesians love to emphasize every single vowel in the name. And if there's ever an AG, it's actually the ung. It's the
that
ung.
I'm learning. Okay.
Yes, so it's the ung. So, for example, Cal's quarterback, Jaron Kiave, which is actually Keawe. The WE is a V, so Kiave Sanga Pulatele, which is SAG, and then Polutele.
Right.
So it's that Sang. It's that A-N-G is that little hidden in there. Still, it's very complicated, so you can just let the people on the TV say it. But
they school you better on TV sometimes.
They certainly do, but they kind of have to. But Oregon's got their fair share of Polynesian players on that team, so it never hurts to just learn a little something like that. But Oregon basically ran away with this one, looked really, really good in their dominant win, and at least we can say that JMU put up 34 against Oregon.
With 500 total plus offense.
Yeah, and Texas Tech could not put up any scores, and that actually puts Texas Tech in some bad company, I believe, in the total of the college football playoffs. I'm doing this from the Dome. Teams that have not scored a touchdown include Texas A&M, Cincinnati, Michigan State, and now Texas Tech. So
that's just a 12-game format? Because I remember.
No, I think that was back with the
game. I think Michigan State went blank
against Alabama, and then Cincinnati against Alabama.
Ohio State also went blank against Clemson.
Yes, but as we know, they've also scored. They've also scored. I mean, they just did it yesterday too. If that didn't even count for anything, but Texas Tech, not a great showing from them. Their defense still looked incredible, but still not enough to overcome the Ducks. Next, it was the Rose Bowl. I mean, Alabama came out with a couple of good sacks on Fernando Mendoza, but Indiana, I mean,
surgery.
Yeah, it was, and I mean that's the best way to really put Fernando Mendoza's performance in that game. He didn't wow you with his passing yards. I believe he only had like 183, 185, something like that. But
14 of 16, something like that.
But 3 touchdown passes. You look at the highlights for that game, it looked like he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do on the field.
When he wanted to do it.
Yeah. Does Fernando Mendoza remind you of any... Does he remind you of anybody?
I would have to go back to the vault to find it. I can't think of anyone off top. Who you got?
So there's a guy, as I was watching him and as I saw the stats, now this might be a reach, and tell me if I'm crazy for thinking this, but after looking at his game and how he like manages everything, the throws that he chooses to make, how he doesn't really wow you in the passing yardage, but he'll wow you with how he organizes the game. I saw a little bit of Matt Stafford in this guy. You look at Matt Stafford's play right now. I mean, he's pinpoint accuracy. He makes the right decisions. He's not going to wow you a lot of times with how many yards he's going to have, but he'll get that ball in the end zone, and he'll get that ball where it needs to go. There's a lot of QBs that can do that, but first name off the top of my head was Matt Stafford.
I like that, and I'm going to roll with you with that on that one because you think about Detroit, Matt Stafford is a little bit more frantic because he didn't have the protection. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same with Georgia as well, even though he did, but it's just, the talent level that was around him there. But it's like this veteran Matt Stafford that we know that's a Super Bowl champion and the whole deal that's been under Sean McVay's tutelage. I see exactly what you're looking at. I mean, poise, patience, deliberate, just detailed on everything. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, he looked really, 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 really good out there, and I mean, he once again just proved to you why he's the Heisman winner right now. I mean, I think that's undeniable. You get a big win like that over Alabama, which I know is the biggest loss Alabama has ever taken in the postseason. Which I almost got secondhand embarrassment when Alberto Mendoza was put in the game in the second half. Because I'm sitting there, I'm saying, you're Alabama. You're supposed to be the SEC team. Not so much recently because Georgia's been taking up that helm. Right. But you are like the top dog. And they're putting in their second team against you in this game. Now, granted, Ty Simpson goes down with a little bit of an injury. Maybe Austin Mack comes in, actually outthrows Ty Simpson. But once again, Alabama, no rushing attack whatsoever. Their top rusher had 17 yards. Yeah. That's terrible. You cannot win in football with that kind of performance. So Indiana just ran all over them.
All did whatever they wanted to do with them and just handled it. It was like I said, it was just a master class in football surgery.
It really was. And I'm going to say it. I'm sure it's been said before, but Kurt Cignetti is our modern day Nick Saban. Yeah. His mannerisms, the way he carries himself on the field, the way
his level of focus that he keeps his team with as well. It's like, okay, now he has to go back to the drawing board and get his teim refocused for next Friday night.
And I mean,
for a rematch.
Yeah.
That was, they went on the road and they handled that one pretty thoroughly.
Yeah.
In Eugene, Oregon. Was that late September, somewhere around in there?
Something like that.
So it's just, It's going to be interesting, but just to
it'll
maintain that, and the coach that he'll be matched up with that, and the same thing with Dan Lanning. The matter of how they get their guys prepared, here we are.
That one should be a really good game. But already with Curt Cignetti, you have the memes of like Saban when the national championship with Alabama and Notre Dame, they're up 42-10.
Yeah.
And Nick Saban's just mad as all get out on yelling at all of his players like, we got to do all this right. And you're like, dude, you're up 32 points in the national championship, but still, that doesn't matter. And then yesterday in the game, 38-3 final score, and Curt Cignetti just looks like, all right, we're on to the next thing. No time to rest. Love that mentality with him. So very, very good game from them. And actually, very, very important for Indiana because that game actually marks the only team to win coming out of a bye since the college football playoffs were integrated. Those teams are now 1-7, with Indiana being the only team to win following a bye.
You see change coming within that of some kind?
I don't know. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. We're inevitably going to move to a 16-game playoff, which I don't think is right. I don't think we need to make it bigger because you look at where we're at right now. The best games are coming with these 10 teams. This is where the action is happening. Yeah. This is where the viewership is going up because that first round still chalky. Barring Texas A&M and Miami, still that game was not as exciting as people thought it was going to be. People saw all year Texas A&M's offense was going crazy. Marcel Reed did incredible with this team, and then you go to that game and the defensive battle was just too much to overcome, and then it was a late touchdown in that game. So not really a lot of excitement in that first round 2 years in a row, and now we're waiting until we get to here where all the action is really, really starting to pick up. But I don't know. I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better, which is unfortunate.
How about the Texas teams that were in the playoffs? 2 of them there, and a combined total 3 points.
I mean, that alone says enough.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I'm sure you guys on the morning show talked a lot about it. The best for last, the Sugar Bowl. I mean, just the back and forth between that game, how good Trinidad Chambliss looked in that game. I mean, he was making NFL throws, and that speaks a lot to the trust that is built between quarterback and receiver, where he's throwing the ball before that guy gets out of his break or gets away from the defender. He looked really good. For me, it wasn't until that first drive of the fourth quarter where the game just changed ultimately, where that scramble, the shovel pass, the scramble to keep the play alive, the pinpoint accuracy. I mean, all around, great performance from Ole Miss. After the game had ended 3 times, it finally concluded. But a huge shout-out to Ole Miss as they go on. And this is a very, very interesting playoff we have right now. We've got Indiana and Oregon rematch there, and then we've got Ole Miss going against Miami. So definitely not the way anybody drew it up, I don't think. Actually, when it came to my bracket, the only team that moved on was Indiana.
I don't think anybody in America had this combination of 4.
No, I don't think they did. And if they did, please shout yourself out, and we will believe you because
share some Powerball numbers with us or whatever the case that you got.
Tell us all of the secrets to.
I will say this though, our guy Brent Norsworthy came on the morning show on Wednesday, and he picked Ole Miss outright. I followed up right behind him.
He's heavy on Ole Miss.
He had a reason. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to be different. Go with Ole Miss.
I mean, nothing wrong with that either. But that is going to do it for this first segment. On the other side, we've got to talk all things the NBA with our agent and Andy Schiffman. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Remember the song, How Many More Times? That's right, the title of the song that fits in right with what I always tell people. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Ben Store Realtors. Before you put your house on the market, I always tell people to talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers to not only find out what they think of your home and its pricing, but more important, what they will do for you. And make sure that I am one of them. There are keys to my highly successful strategic marketing program that involve preparing your house for the market and being able to present it before any objections take place. I've done this for a long time, and my professional team has one goal in mind: to get you to the closing table making as much money as possible. But first, remember what people often say: when you want the job done, call Shell Done at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Remember, how many more times? That's Shell Done at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546. And tell me the name of the band that sang that song.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Makita knows that pros never settle, and neither do we. With Makita, you get tools that perform at the highest level on every job without compromise. Makita is for the most detailed pros, expertly engineered to deliver precision, job after job. When your work calls for the best, call on Makita. Makita, built to be the best. Available at the Home Depot.
Memphis Hustle Basketball is back and bringing the heat to the Landers Center. See tomorrow's stars in everything from high-energy matchups to limited edition giveaways and exciting theme nights. Every game is a can't-miss experience. Be part of the action and grab your tickets today at memphisHustle.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Take me to the pilot of your soul. Take me to the pilot, lead me to the train, take me to the pilot.
Welcome back into Wolo and Friends. Our friend Dave is out right now. He is on his way to Texas as Memphis will be taking on Rice tomorrow. That should be an exciting matchup as American Conference is really getting into full swing right now. But amidst all the hustle and bustle of everything that is included in the college football playoffs and bowl games and bowl seasons, yes, there is still NBA, and there's a lot of NBA to talk about, and we talk about it with Andy Schiffman. With all of this stuff going on right now, Andy, the biggest news, I believe, was all the information we're getting from the Denver Nuggets. That is, Jokic is now out with a hyperextended knee, and now reports are showing that Valanciunas is going to be out with a calf injury, so he'll be out for 4 weeks. Not to include that Christian Braun, Cam Johnson, and Aaron Gordon are all going to be out. Just to get things started, is this too much for the Nuggets to continue their winning ways? And good morning to you.
Morning. Happy New Year. And it is problematic for Denver because they are a team right now where you've got arguably the best player in the NBA out for probably around a month or so with his injury. Then you lose Valanciunas, like you just mentioned. You got Christian Braun out. You got a number of key rotational players out, and it's a crucial point in the season. So, yeah, look, I think that this, if anything, was to ignite the Nuggets' aggression at the trade deadline. I think this does it. And I was actually talking about their situation with one of my players on the Bulls here because the Bulls have a big man in Nikola Vucevic that they would love to move off of, right? And so how would that look if there's a Chicago-Denver trade? I think that could make a lot of sense for both sides. I just think financially, I'm not sure how the numbers would quite work, but would not be surprised if the Nuggets put a call into the Bulls to inquire about Vucevic's availability, and maybe they move off of Najee's contract in Denver, and maybe there's draft picks exchange right now. But to your point, look, Denver's 23-10. Mm-hmm. They're third in the West. We've seen this before where a team loses some key players, especially a player like Jokic. I mean, all of a sudden, the last thing you want is to slide down to 6, 7, or 8. And I think the Lakers are going to continue to play well. I think Minnesota is underachieved at this point. I think they're better than their record shows at 21-13. Houston's right there. So all of a sudden, some of these teams, and look, I wouldn't even count out Memphis if they are healthy, that these teams at the bottom half of the standings in the West could climb up and potentially compete or surpass Denver, depending on where they are. And so that's what you'll want to avoid for Denver, and I think the only way to really address that right now, unfortunately, is probably going to have to be pretty active at the trade deadline, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I like everything you mentioned with that because I know one of the biggest concerns with the Denver Nuggets is the fact that right now, as it sits, they do not have a first-round draft pick, so that not a lot of draft capital there, and I know a lot of stuff financially. Their salary's not all there either, so I know you mentioned the big guy for the Chicago Bulls. Is there anybody else you could see potentially filling that role for the Nuggets around the league?
Right now it's kind of hard to look around the league and pinpoint like a really higher level, starting level caliber center that a team might want to get off of. I mean, I could rattle through a bunch of other players right now, but I mean, just trying to kind of go through the rosters in my mind. I think an attractive piece is to look at maybe a higher level rotational big, starting level big on a team that's really not going anywhere. But then you just have to factor in, okay, well, can that player really step in and impact Denver? You know, Vucevic can because he's done it at every level with Orlando and Chicago. He's a higher level starting player. And so I don't think they're going to make a move just to make a move to have a body in there. I think they'd be better off maybe developing some younger players or looking in the G League to add someone on a 10-day. But I think there are a number of just big bodies out there that teams would love to get off of. New Orleans, they have Yves Missi, Kevon Looney, DeAndre Jordan, all there. I'm not saying those guys are the answer, but they're, I think, good enough for Denver to possibly invest in and take a look at. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of teams kind of at the bottom of the standings that could be somewhat in a sell mode at the deadline to try and acquire assets. You know, another guy, well, I was going to say Zubac with Clippers. I think the Clippers could definitely be a seller at the deadline. I've heard James Harden could be moved, and that would be a really viable piece for Denver. I know he's injured right now, so I don't know how long he'll be out. I know he's missed the last several games with the Clippers. But I think that could be another name that they discuss in Denver.
Yeah, and if Denver decides not to make a move and kind of just ride out this 4-week time span until they get these guys back, how do you see that 4-week span shaping up if Denver just doesn't make any moves?
Look, I mean, and they could do that, right? I think I believe their roster's at 15 right now, so that really kind of handcuffs them in what they're able to do. They'd have to only look at the trade market. And there's all sorts of rules and restrictions given their financial status against the salary cap right now that could limit their flexibility, right? And so for sure the front office could say, look, we're not panicking. We're just going to invest in the rehab and development of our big men and get them better. In the meantime, like, it's kind of just doing it by committee. I mean, this is a very high-level team, a very good team. It's not at the point in the season just yet where you're kind of fighting to like stay in the playoffs and you know, you have to go out there and win tomorrow or your season's done. So that is an option. I just don't know, losing a guy like Jokic and then obviously a viable backup in Jonas, how long they can stay afloat doing that. So another route like you're alluding to, right? They could definitely go the next week or so to see how the team adjusts. They play at Cleveland tonight, then they're at Brooklyn. They got a little East Coast road trip now, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Philly, Boston, right? Then you get into January 9th, Atlanta at home, Milwaukee at home, on the road against New Orleans, Dallas, back home against Washington, Charlotte. All those games I just referenced are winnable. That takes you to January 20th against the Lakers at home. So they could definitely escape the month of January with a winning record, even without Jokic. But as the season goes on, I do think it becomes more difficult. And then you get into February. So I think it's an option. I think it would behoove them, though, to definitely make a round of calls and target some of these bigs on teams that are probably going to be sellers at the deadline.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a good move, and really good news for Spurs fans. We know that Wemby's MRI came back clean. How important is this, not just for the Spurs, but as we've mentioned with all the shakeups and the injuries going on with the Nuggets and all these other teams in the West, how much is this going to impact the race for the West right now?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with Wemby. It is great news for the Spurs. They were fearful that there could be some ligament damages, knee injury, and that's not the case. He's going to miss a few games for sure. I'm actually going to Indiana tonight to see the Pacers play the Spurs, and I think the Spurs will still blow them out of the water. But no Wemby, so that's disappointing as a basketball fan. So I think the Spurs are in a great position. They're 24-9. We've talked about the last couple times, right, on this show, how dominant they've been against the best team in the NBA in OKC, and they're winning ways. Look, a lot of these games are won without Wemby, and now, up until recently, obviously, you got a healthy Wemby who's back in the starting lineup, and that's going to change for the foreseeable future. But I am absolutely not overly concerned if you're San Antonio. I think you can get by without Wemby in the lineup. You just have to make sure he's fully healthy before you rush him back, because you've seen this whole season, right? Like, I feel like every other day there's a major injury to a player that keeps them out for multiple weeks at a time. So look, the Spurs are in good shape right now. I still believe that at the end of the day, they're going to be a team that's contending for a Western Conference Finals with any one of OKC, Denver, maybe Houston is like right on that next tier. But again, it all comes down to health.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the other side of that, I know we've talked about how we just talked about how the Spurs are really in a good spot for the West. How about in the East? Do you have any favorites right now for the East?
You know, we've talked about Detroit, and no one's talking about Detroit because
which is
no one really ever talks about Detroit.
Yeah.
They're still the best team in the West. The East rather. They're the second best team in the NBA, tied with the Spurs for best record. They're 25-9. They've definitely lost here and there. Duran just went down yesterday with an ankle injury. I don't know how long that'll keep him out. I don't know if I believe in them to go out there and win multiple long-term series in the playoffs to make it all the way to the finals, let's say. I really do like New York.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the East right now. I think it's going to come down to Detroit and New York. I mean, Boston surprised everybody, right? Even them, right? Mm-hmm. Brad Stevens and that whole staff were going into this season invested in developing and playing their younger players. Former Tiger Josh Minot, who they got in a trade with, actually they signed rather in the offseason for Minnesota. They have a couple of our players in Baylor Shireman and Luka Garza, and these guys are out there doing it every single night, playing heavy minutes, and they're winning 21-12. And it's interesting to see the success they've had. Obviously, you've got no Tatum for the season, but they're third in the East because they just do have a really well-rounded roster. And the other side, you talk about a team like Indiana and the injury to Tyrese Halliburton and how valuable he is and what that's done to that team. Obviously, with them losing Miles Turner as well to Milwaukee in free agency has a lot to do with it. Boston, to me, though, I think they've overachieved. I don't necessarily put them as a team that's going to be there in June playing for an Eastern Conference Finals. So for me, I really like the Knicks if they're healthy. Mm-hmm. I think they're very hard to beat at home. Mm-hmm. They have a knack for these big comeback wins. The other night, I think I was watching, they were down 17, 18 points, I think, going into the fourth. And, you know, again, they just have clutch players. I mean, Jalen Brunson is the top of that list, but Miles McBride's one of my players, and he's had a great season so far when he's healthy, playing at a high level. We represent Tyler Kolek, who's kind of the rising story, good news story out of New York in terms of a second-round pick, second year in the NBA, who's all of a sudden gotten his opportunity and stepping up. And not to mention Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Jordan Clarkson off the bench, Karl Anthony Towns. So for me, I personally like the Knicks kind of going all the way in the East over Detroit.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that's a great breakdown of where the East is at right now. And to your point, I feel like Detroit just always kind of flies under the radar, but they are still playing really good basketball right now. Over talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, I know tonight that the Lakers will be hosting the Grizzlies. The Lakers right now kind of in a little bit of a dud in a stretch of their season. They're losers of 4 of their last 5, which is inevitable to happen in an NBA season. It's so long. There's going to be times where there's going to be down moments. Right now, though, with every game that Luka has been playing, he's getting close to or getting over 30 points in every single game that he's playing. So what's been going wrong with the Lakers right now that's causing them to lose this many games in this short of a time period?
I wish I had the answer for that one. I think looking at their schedule, right, like they have been on a tear. A team that has really surprised me and a lot of people around the NBA is Phoenix. I don't think anyone saw them having the record they have right now and having the success. I mean, they're 19-14, which is quite opposite of what I thought and where I thought they'd be at. And that's one of the teams, as you referenced, that the Lakers just lost to. The 4 games they've lost, Clippers on the road, which that was a head-scratcher for me, Phoenix, Houston, so 2 very good teams. They won at home against Sacramento. They lost at home against Detroit, which I actually thought the Lakers were going to win that one, and they had it competitive for most of the game, and they just ended up losing to a very good team. So, look, I don't know if it's just a lot of games, as we've talked about this entire season. The first half of the year, the NBA has front-loaded the schedules, and I think when you do have an older team, and I say older because LeBron mostly is not a young pup anymore, and he is still the leader of that team. And then you still have players out here and there, and you really haven't had a full healthy squad for a really long stretch of the season. I don't know if that affects them. I just think maybe these teams are just, bottom line, they're outplaying them, right? So I don't necessarily, I can't point to one thing or the other. It's not like they're going out there and getting hammered by 20 points at home against the likes of the Wizards or the Nets necessarily. So they are losing to other competitive teams. But to your point, right, like you've got Luka, who's healthy now, who's putting up almost 35 to 40 a game, I feel like. You still have LeBron. You've got Austin Reeves. You got a lot of nice pieces, so you should be winning some of these games. They're still fifth in the West. I think just defensively, though, they're very bad. And I think that's pretty evident when you watch them. I think for sure, I feel like every single game, there are clips on Twitter, real time, of Luka who just does not care defensively. Yeah. And I think he's so good offensively that maybe you can kind of get away with that when you have other key pieces. But that's going to catch up to them in the long run. I do think that that's going to kind of be their Achilles heel as you get into the playoffs, because you need a strong defensive team, and that is not the Lakers. So I think if I had to say one thing that's hurting them, it is their defense. I don't know how you really go out there and instill all of a sudden high-level defensive principles in Luka Doncic when he's Luka Doncic. But you do have a back-to-back at home against Memphis now, which, you know, look, as much as I'd love to be wrong, I think the Lakers are going to win those two games. They should win those two games.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. And as we've kind of been starting the show talking a lot about the college football, is that the saying is as old as time, is that defense wins championships. And if you don't have a good defense, that's kind of a huge gaping hole. Well, last thing for you, Andy, this is something that Dave wanted me to mention to you, so I want to honor his wishes as he is traveling right now. He made mention of something that you had said earlier the last time you two had talked, and that is that you believe that Ja or Jaren will not be in a Grizzlies uniform. Do you still believe this, and which one of them, and when do you see this occurring?
Well, that's the thing. The win is the key for me, because maybe Dave misinterpreted my thoughts. I don't necessarily think that either will be moved at the deadline, but I think if you're Zach Kleiman, I think you would be in a good position to at least explore the market for one of those two players. And I'm not saying picking up the phone and calling 29 teams and looking desperate and then really losing value in a trade that includes one or two or both, or one of those players or both.
Right.
But I think in your conversations, which for sure Zach is having with these other GMs and presidents around the league, I'm sure teams are inquiring about Ja. And I think you're past the point now where you're telling these other teams Ja and Jaren are untouchable. I don't think you can say that. So to that point, to your point, right, I believe that there is as good a chance, as much as there's no chance, let's call it 50-50, that one of those two key players, whether it's right now, which I don't think will be the case, but more likely if something was to happen in the offseason, one of those two guys could be moved. But again, it's very tricky, more so with Ja, because you've invested so much in him, you use a number 2 overall pick in him, so you're not just going to give him away for pennies on the dollar. And I just don't know, depending on how the season ends, I just don't know how the Grizzlies can continue riding both those two guys as your front runners and as your core pieces, expecting things to change. And mostly, for me, it's with Ja. I think there could come a point in time this summer where the front office says, all right, we've kind of reached a ceiling here with Ja and Jaren. We know we can get value for Ja. Now's the time to kind of rebuild that part of our roster and our franchise and move forward. Look, they did that with Pau Gasol years ago, and it was a take 2 steps back, take a step forward sort of thing, or maybe I'm butchering that saying, 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. But that might be a similar situation they find themselves in. I just don't think you can discount the whole notion of like, well, we're never moving Ja. I mean, as much as Grizzlies fans love Ja, I do think that there's a pretty strong contingent that would agree, okay, it may not be the worst thing to move off him, depending on what you can get in return.
Yeah, well, I think that was very beautifully said. I'm going to let Dave come back and kind of debate you on what he
I don't say anything definitively in this world. I've seen too many things.
Yeah.
So you can just remind him, nothing that I say is definitive. That's my legal background.
Well, I'll be sure to remind him of that when I see him back on Monday. But, Andy, that's all the time we have today. I hope you had a very, very happy New Year's, and we'll talk to you again next week.
I had a great New Year's watching my Hoosiers win yesterday, so got to rooting for them, and you guys have a happy new year as well.
Absolutely. That is our man. That is Andy Schiffman, who always joins us to talk the NBA. Always a fun time talking with him. Real quick, we have to take a break because very John Harden-esque of us to go overtime, as we usually do. On the other side, Jay Ham and I will be talking about what we have heard about Bill giving us the 2025 NFL All-Pro team. We're going to do that very quickly. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Wolo and Friends.
Not only can you listen to your favorite shows on Sports 56, you can also watch video of the shows live on Twitter and YouTube. Watch and listen every day at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Hey, everybody out there. Walker Taylor with Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Football season is upon us. Nothing better for your next tailgate party than a barbecue buffet spread provided by the Germantown or Collierville Commissary. Catering, self-serve or full, is a specialty of ours. No party too small, no party too large. You can check out our pricing and the items we feature at commissarybbq.com. Holidays will be upon us soon. At our Collierville location, we have a party room for 30 up to 100, perfect for family, business, or church functions. We also have a patio at the Collierville location, perfect in the fall for enjoying football and eating barbecue. Monday through Friday at the Collierville location, we also offer an all-you-can-eat buffet featuring barbecue pulled pork, ribs, fried chicken, and catfish. Each location also offers a $10.95 lunch special, a sandwich, a side, and a drink. Please come visit us at the original in Germantown by the railroad tracks or our new location in Collierville at Houston Levy and Poplar. And as always, go Tigers go.
Cleanliness is next to impossible unless you call Hilo Commercial Services. For 15 years, Hilo's dedicated team has been cleaning offices throughout the Mid-South. Hilo's janitorial services are customized to your business. Clean once, quarterly, or ongoing, and get the JRD guarantee. We clean until you're satisfied. Hilo Commercial Services, the biggest and the best in the Mid-South. Visit MrCleanTeam.com. That's MrCleanTeam, MrCleanTeam.com for Hilo Commercial Services.
Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis has serious vans for serious work. At 4430 American Way, they are the Mid-South source for cargo, passenger, crew vans, and custom chassis. Need one or a full fleet? New or used, they've got it. With fleet solutions and custom upfits. Certified techs keep you moving with fast maintenance, repairs, and a large parts inventory. Mercedes-Benz Van Center is your Sprinter Van headquarters. 901-237-9302 or sprintervans.com. Mercedes-Benz Van Center Memphis, part of the Tag Truck Center family. Driven to keep you on the road.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back into Wolo and Friends. Wolo is currently in the air, or he has touched down in Texas. We will not know because he is out today. In for him right now is Landon Schmidt. And real quickly, and very, very quickly, we are going to look at this. Bill Barnwell. This is something that he does annually, so I have heard, about his NFL 2025 All-Pro Team picks. He has picked the best players at every single position. So real quickly, we'll just take a look at who these top guys are, who these top dogs are, and we'll kind of get a comparison. We'll do who J-Ham believes it is versus who Bill believes it is. So obviously, the most important position in the world of football. Who would you pick to be your all-pro first-team quarterback for the NFL?
I'm stubborn. I'm going with Matt Stafford.
Going with Matt Stafford?
Yeah.
Bill Barnwell does not fully disagree with you. He has him on the second team.
I saw that.
His first team is actually Drake May, and if you look at the stat comparison...
Won't argue.
No, not at all. And especially after you look at the stat comparison that both Matt Stafford and Drake May have against common opponents for both of these teams, May leads in completion percentage, yards per attempts, fewer interceptions, rushing yards, and total QB rating. Yeah. So he's really running in all forefronts of really all that kind of stuff. So like you, I can't really disagree with that. Drake May is playing the best football out of anybody, especially for the quarterback.
He's probably the MVP of the league.
I would 100% agree with that. I think if you just look at everything that's going on in the NFL right now, Drake May, week after week, is still performing really well. And the thing that's so impressive about him is how often he's completing passes. He may not throw 40 passes a game, but of the 21, he's going to complete 19 of them. Absolutely. That's almost a guarantee, and that is huge for this NFL. What about running back? Who would you have as your first team running back?
Ooh, Jonathan Taylor will be my choice.
Okay.
But I saw his choice, and I'm not mad at that one either.
Yeah, so his second team was Jonathan Taylor, which I 100% agree with. Jonathan Taylor, year after year, is doing really, really good, but his number one is Bijan Robinson. I cannot be mad at that. I think Bijan, especially with how the Falcons have been playing these past few weeks, has looked really, really good. But for my money, I think you cannot overlook Christian McCaffrey.
You can't.
I know he's been riddled with injuries. He's had a little bit of a slow start, but even him, in his recent performance in these past few weeks, he's been a leader. He's been doing really, really good. But Bill Barnwell has selected Bijan Robinson and Jonathan Taylor, so not really bad there, but some good stuff. Moving on to receiver, he has 3 receivers, and then he has a few on his second team. Who would be your top receivers?
Jax. Let me go with Jax. I'm going to go with Puka, and I'm going to go with George Pickens, Puka Nicole, Jackson Smith, and Jigba.
Yeah, word for word, that's exactly what Bill Barnwell has as well. Jackson Smith and Jigba, definitely the best wide receiver in the league right now, and at a very close second, could make a case for number one, especially if he made that catch in the game last week.
Ooh, man,
it
3
would've-
fingers.
Yeah, it definitely would have been him number one. But Puka, I mean, it's just Cooper Kupp who. I mean, he's gone. Puka is really, really meshed into that role. And George Pickens, I'm not mad at. There's definitely a lot of good receivers that probably could have filled that gap right there.
I saw he had Chris Olave on there, too, and I'm like, hey, I'm
Chris
not mad
Olave,
at that.
man, the streak that Tyler Shuck has been taking the Saints on, they are now winners of 5 straight. Quietly.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's not against the best competition in the NFL, but stringing together a winning streak is impressive.
And this is something this is why, like, none of those guys wanted to be dealt at the deadline.
Yeah.
They wanted to be there. You know, they were like, we're going to keep rocking. They'll be better next year.
Absolutely. And how I can see Tyler Shuck's career shaping out is he is very much going to be he was good in college, but I think he's really going to find his home in the NFL, and I think he's really going to shine. As long as they stick with him, they continue to develop him, I think that's going to look really good really quickly. For their second team, he has Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, and Chris Olave. Any one of those guys. I mean, very interchangeable, but doing very, very well this year. Tight end, very, very tricky for this year because usually that's a plug in. You say, oh, tight end. Well, it's got to be Travis Kelce. It's got to be George Kittle. It's got to be Mark Andrews. But he went a different direction. What say you?
I like my man from the Colts, Warren.
Yeah, Tyler Warren. I would say very under the radar right now. I would almost put him. He's definitely right now better than Colston Loveland over at the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Dave. Don't want to knock on your Chicago Bears. They're playing really good football right now. Shout out to the Bears. But he went with Trey McBride, and how could you not? The dude is setting records. He's playing really, really good on a really, really bad team. But his second team is Tyler Warren. We unfortunately don't have time to get through all these other guys, but there is only 2 other people that I wanted to highlight that Bill Barnwell took. For his edge rushers, he has, of course, Myles Garrett, the dude who is like a freakazoid, and his other guy, Will Anderson Jr. Both really good picks.
Yeah.
And his defensive tackle, the best defensive tackle in football right now. Probably not, but I'm going to say it anyways. He picks Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons from the Tennessee Titans. He seems timeless. He seems to be rolling, but we are way over on our time. We need to wrap everything up. I hope that everybody out there, you had a very, very good New Year spending time with friends and family. On the other side, we will be back here on Monday. Dave will be back, and we'll have our usual suspects. We'll give our precious medals for the weekend. Enjoy your time, and as always, my friends, it's going to be a good day.